3, 2, 1. Enrique Duran, how we doing?
How you doing, Omar, man? It's so nice to be with you again.
You're the first person on the show twice.
I don't know if that's a privilege or it's just
A punishment, huh?
a punishment. But right now, no, I'm very happy just to be here with you again. And like the last time, I think that we had a good time. Let's see what we have for today.
Yeah, no expectations. But for you, how does preseason look so far with the new group?
Okay, you know that preseason is always kind of challenging when you are already in a first team. When you are already coaching in a second team, it's even more challenging, okay? Because you don't have the team together. You don't have all the players that you would like to be coaching from day one. And that's something that it's forcing you just to be more flexible, okay, in some of the stuff that you are going to be doing, and try to be more versatile also in the way that you would like to introduce topics and introduce ideas to the players. What I'm not changing during preseason is that I have clear offensive and defensive ideas that I want to introduce to the group. And the only thing that I need to do is to adjust the training sessions based on the players that I'm going to be having, no? Concepts are always going to be there, but I know that the final product is not going to be ready until the players will be together. For that reason, step by step, trying to analyze every training session, but always trying to provide some kind of food to the players for them to get satisfied, with the product that we are going to be just delivering to them on the field.
It's tough. I know for a fact last year with Las Vegas, we had situations where some of our guys would be training with the first team, and then when they come to train with us, I didn't know. I was more with the goalkeeping side, so I didn't really know how you and Steven really did that. Is it more like provide individual concepts to certain players and have them grow in their role, and then when the full group is back together, you can kind of piece them back in? Or do you hold off on the team concept until everyone's back together?
Yeah, I think that at the end, we are focusing a bit more in the individual areas that players can improve. The reason why is because imagine that we would like to start developing the way that we are going to be building up. If you don't have the guy that is going to be starting on Saturday, if you don't have the outside back that is going to be playing on that specific game it doesn't make a lot of sense. Yeah. But why we are not going to be just trying to focus on how the position of the outside back should be for all of them to be almost in the same page, no? There is another important thing during preseason that it's very important for us just to be as close as possible to the first team, because there are a lot of ideas and concepts that they are trying to introduce, and sometimes will be very similar to the ones that they were introducing the previous year, but there are some things that they are going to be just trying to change. And at the end, our responsibility is to be as close as possible to them, to have an opportunity to deliver the same message to the players that are going to be joining us. There are players that are going to be joining us only for the game. Yeah. And if we want to just tweak things or do things in a completely different way that the first team is doing, is not going to be working, okay? And for that reason is the players will need to adjust a bit to what we would like to introduce to them individually, but from our side as coaches, we need to adapt a bit what the first team is expecting from these players, no? Because if we are just asking them to do something completely different to the stuff that they have been training for days or weeks, it's not going to be working.
Yeah, so that's the idea, I guess, right? You and Steve, for example, you guys need to have very similar ideas for the roles of each player. They don't have to pick up too much. It's kind of just ready to go.
Yeah, that communication is key. I think that at the end, what we are trying to do is to align a bit the style or the way that we are going to be playing for us to have an opportunity to really develop players in the way that we want them to be developed. That communication with Steve and I is key, but the same way that he's communicating with me, I need to communicate with the academy coaches, because as soon as I'm just bringing players up from the academy, they need to be ready to really do what I'm expecting from them. Yeah. Okay, I can't waste my time coaching from scratch. I just need to get players that are going to be at least having an idea about what we are expecting. No? And for that reason, that communication is key, and also having all the coaches and all the staff in the same page.
Okay, and I know, I mean, we sit this far from each other in the office, so I get to ask you all the questions, but I know some of the answers you give me would be perfect for this. So where do you think, in your mind, the state of coaching is in the United States right now? Let's go with the young coaches first.
Look, unfortunately, I didn't have an opportunity to really know the process from the beginning, because I didn't have the opportunity to get a lot of licenses and courses here in the US. All my education has been from Europe. But I worked very close with the young teams for almost 3-4 years before I moved to the Lights. And this season, I'm going to be having the chance just to coach with the second team. But I will say that one thing that I'm missing a bit is just coaches to really recognize what is the style that they would like to play. Okay, it's just trying to find coaches that are spending time trying to develop their own ideas and to develop their own styles. That's something that is going to be related with the age group that you are coaching. It's going to be related with the players that you have. There are a lot of factors that are going to be trying to influence this situation. But at the end, I think that sometimes we just try to copy styles instead of trying to develop our own styles. And that's something that I noticed, that at the end, to have a good identity as a coach, you need to spend time with yourself. Okay, when you spend time with yourself, you are gonna recognize the way that you will like your team to play. Of course, that we are not Man City or we are not Liverpool to have the opportunity to pick these players that are gonna be fitting our styles. But then it's our responsibility as coaches to develop players the way that we think that they should be playing to fit the style or the ideas that we would like to see on the field, no? And that's an exercise that I missing a bit in the country, and that's for me key, and that's something that it should be happening, I think, soon. Just for the coaches, just to have an opportunity to continue developing the game here in the country.
Yeah, I know for myself, a lot of what I teach is from what I learned. And I know even from the Galaxy Academy days, like our goalkeeper coach, I felt was really good. I would be in sessions and I would see something live play, and then I would see it on the weekend and I'd be like, wow, okay, so we're training game scenarios. So I think his philosophy was kind of like everything needs to be related to the game. So then when I got into coaching, I paired how I felt learning that stuff at the Galaxy and then paired what my uncle, who played in Mexico, his sessions were diving under ropes, over ropes, a lot of plyometric stuff over hurdles. So I took that and this, and I tried to marry the two. Along that path, there was a lot of mistakes. I felt sometimes there was an identity crisis of like, okay, well, I'm doing this, but I don't know why. So do you think there's kind of that identity crisis, or are people not even putting that effort in to develop their own style of play, but more so just copying and pasting the Guardiolas and
at the end, look, right now I think that we have access to more coaching styles, okay? But again, what you did, I think that is the process that all the coaches should be trying to go through. Having different ideas, having different styles in their hands, and then from there, develop their own style. But not only as coaches, as a club, as a national team, you need to provide to the team, to the players, clear ideas. And sometimes it's hard for us to develop ideas or to introduce ideas if we don't know really well how we would like to develop a style of play, how we would like to attack. Then you hear people just say, no, we would like just to keep possession. Okay, but what you want to do when you have the ball? How are they going to be controlling the game? And you are attacking this way, but do you know that you are going to defend in that way if you are using that specific way of attacking? Oh, I never thought about how we were going to be defending. Yeah, but that's important. And do you know that the way that you are attacking and the way that you are defending is going to be key to see how your transitions are going to be? And everything needs to be linked. This is something that needs to have a clear idea from coaches, and is the best way then for the players to understand what is the message that we want to provide to them.
Yeah, so for any of the young coaches that are listening, I mean, where did you start with that whole process?
Look, it is very interesting because I had the opportunity to coach for many years by myself, okay, and I thought that was the greatest coach in the earth. Then I moved to the FC Barcelona structure, and then is when I started to realize, wow, what I was doing, I was just getting there to the field. I put a few drills, and I thought that the training session was fantastic, but I didn't do any recap on training. I didn't think about what were the concepts that I wanted to train. But when I got to Barcelona, everything was a bit different. No, they started to structure my training session. What is the technical concept that you would like to introduce, the tactical one, the system of play? And I say, wow, I think that I'm in trouble right now because I'm just training players by training players without even thinking what I'm going to be doing on the field. No, that was providing to me an instructor, like the same way that you were explaining, was allowing me to see a way of organizing things that I was evolving, I think, in the last years, just to fit that style to the style that I wanted to introduce to the players. Yeah. What I got from Barcelona is that they really provide really good concepts and ideas that probably all of them are with me for the last 20, 25 years. But the most important thing of it is that I had the ability to change them, to adjust to the styles of play that the clubs that I was working for were requesting to me, plus to the players' profiles that I had. Okay, I'm going to explain you a quick story. It's like when I went to South Africa, they just told me, Enrique, I know you are a good coach because you were in Barcelona and we want all the teams from our academy to play like Barcelona. I went one day just to watch the players in training. I say, look, I remember that what you were asking me like 2 hours ago, but it's not going to be possible, okay? What I promise to you is that the team is going to be playing well, the team is going to be trying to do these kind of things, but you cannot expect teams to be exactly the same than the teams that I was coaching in the past. No? And that's something that you don't need to have the exact same style that Barcelona is playing, but you can have the same ideas. And who are you going to be introducing these ideas are not going to be the same in the US than in Spain or than in South Africa. Yeah. And that's something that it's key for coaches also to understand how they need to adapt their styles to the resources that they are going to be having.
How do you advise the coaches out there who have players that may not fit their style? Does that mean that you work individually with each one and try to get them to a certain standard, and then from there, hopefully that works? Or do you kind of say, okay, maybe I need to adapt to a new philosophy so that I can give these guys an opportunity to succeed?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And at the end, what we have here in the club is that all the players are good. Okay, all of them, they have some good abilities. You just need to adjust their abilities to the way that you would like to play. For example, just going with the center backs, if we would like just to have center backs that are having the ability to attack spaces by dribble, and one of them is not feeling comfortable, that's an area that we will need to spend some time with him. Sometimes individually, but also working as a line or working as a team, no? And you can give that player the opportunity to try, to fail, and then to keep coaching him just to have an opportunity to see if he's going to develop it in the way that you think that he's going to be. There are players that are not going to be having the ability just to do what you are expecting from them. But it's key for me just to have at least an opportunity to spend time with them, explain what you want, and don't let them fail without spending enough time with the players. How I'm going to be pretending that these guys are going to be good enough if I'm not talking with them? If I'm not explaining what I'm expecting from the players? How much video are we doing, Omar?
Too much.
It's too much. It's a lot of video just for them to recognize situations. And of course, there is a process where we will need to assess the players and see if they're improving. If they are not improving, then is when we will need to take a decision. Okay, but I will say that the style can be changed a bit, but also the players will need to adjust their skills or their abilities to what we are expecting from them. More than anything else is because at the next level, they are going to be expecting them to do that. Okay, and if we are not providing these tools or these opportunities for them to develop in that way, they are going to be struggling, at least to play in our club. Maybe there are going to be other clubs where they are going to be fine with the 3 or 4 or 5 things that the players can do well. But here, 6, 7, 8, and 9 are areas that we will need to develop for them.
Yeah. And that, do you think that comes from a lack of knowledge of what the coaches are coaching, because they can't necessarily identify specific things about a player that they can improve within their system, and they've always had just those players who they recruited and scouted them, and they had all 1 through 10. They had everything they needed, so they never really had to coach. But as soon as now you have those players who don't have 5 through 10 of the skills and requirements, now they're kind of like, oh crap, they're just not good enough, or man, I don't really know what I'm coaching, so I kind of just say they're not good enough and just that's it.
Yeah, that's one of the huge mistakes. Sometimes players are just having success because they are better than the other players, and we forget just to continue developing them. And the players also think that what they are doing is enough. I think that in the past, I had an opportunity to see amazing players, U13s, U14s, even U15s. But when they need to do that jump from the U15 to the U17 or U19, they will never compete at the same level that they were doing. And it's just because some of the tools or some of the ways that they were finding solutions are no longer an option for them. And for me, it's always key to have an opportunity to see players like burning stages, okay, where they are just continue doing what they were doing, but at a higher level. Okay, imagine that a player is really good just attacking spaces by dribble, but he can do it the next season with more speed, with more accuracy, connecting better passes. And that's what it's important to see in players that are already well developed, but they need to continue doing these skills at a higher level. And that's hard. And just coming back to if the coaches, they know what to coach or not. If you know your style, if you know what you want, I think that it's going to be easier for you just to really develop a player. When we are talking in the office, I'm spending time just trying to describe or trying to introduce all the ideas and concepts that I want for the players individually. What I want from the center back, what I want from the outside back. Then I know what I'm expecting from the player on the field. And then I'm checking boxes. This guy is not ready for this one. This guy is not ready for this one. And I can focus in one area that I identify as a weakness of the player. But if I'm just thinking about the result in the weekend, I'm maybe not going to be paying attention to an outside back that is not crossing the ball well because we are not practicing with him. For us, the process this year is more like taking the individual, see how he's going to be in the line where he's going to be playing and how he's going to be behaving in the team, no? And to do that, you need to have a clear idea about what you want to do as a team. What are you expecting of the line where this kid is going to be playing? And what are you expecting from him individually? And that's all the work that we are doing right now. And you can see, remember, all the Excel and what is... And always trying to add things and always keep recognizing mistakes that the players are making to see if these are areas that they will need to improve, no?
Stuff that you have been telling me as well is like, you may know it in your head, but having it on paper, all your coaching points and what you expect from each position, and you had to do an exercise, like you said, with the Excel sheet at the beginning of the season, all like the major topics and major areas we need to cover from the goalkeeping side. Like, okay, distribution, what am I looking for? Okay, with entry passes. Okay, with entry passes, are you playing the safe foot or the foot that's protected? So guy on left shoulder, are you playing the right foot? Is that sending a message? And that was something from the exercise that now I probably knew, but have never really written it down. So now I have all the coaching points. So is that maybe something that a lot of coaches should do for each position?
For me, it's an exercise that needs to be done. At the end, we need to be experts of the way that we would like to coach. And again, we can have a general idea about what we want, but we can keep forgetting things. And if we have everything in black and white, it's going to be easier for all of us just to remember, hey, today I'm going to be working defensively. Wow, let me just take a look at the template that I have. These are 3 or 4 things that I forgot to correct in the last training session. I need to introduce these ideas because this movement that this player is making is not good enough and it's just because the supports. And it's going to be refreshing your mind. But if you don't have all that stuff done, you are always going to be guessing, okay? And like I say, you need to be an expert of the way that you would like to coach. And there are going to be moments that there are going to be certain concepts or ideas that you are just going to be tweaking a bit. And that's part of the process too. But what is helping me more than anything else is to check what I'm going to be working. Imagine that we are working in possession. Okay, today I want to be doing this, this, and this. Okay, these ideas are going to be related with these coaching points. Let's have them fresh because I need these points just to be important in today's training session. And then the other important thing is like you need to have coaching points that are going to be clear for each drill that you are going to be making with the players. I'm spending time with Steven now, and in that drill, I will like you to correct these things. We don't need to correct everything, but we need to focus in 2 or 3 things that are going to be allowing us to really take advantage of the drill. Because if at the end we want to coach the way that they are possessing the ball, the way that they are pressing, the way that they are providing support, the way that they are just connecting passes, it's going to be too much for the players. And also, you know that I don't like to stop the drills that much. I like the drills to have a very good rhythm. I am just correcting points to the players in the flow of the game. And that's something that is going to be happening in the real game. For that reason, if my ideas are not clear, the way that I'm going to be delivering the message is going to be really bad for the players.
Yeah, and that's for sure a big one. Is I think you provided that to me last year where it was like when you actually do your goalkeeping sessions, sit down and understand, okay, what am I trying to extract from the goalkeepers here? So if I'm working on crosses, we're working on timing, we're working on starting position, we're working on using their peripheral vision to look to the side. And a lot of that may come to me when I see it in training, but having that written down before, it's a subtle reminder, but it goes such a long way to actually making you more efficient. And you could even say, I saw it, and because I wrote it down, I'm like aware of what I just saw. But I don't make the coaching point there. I want to see if maybe they do it again. If you have it in your back pocket and you go, okay, they self-corrected or I need to step in. And like you're saying, it's important to have those fresh so that when you are doing an exercise, you can say, okay, I want to stop it now because of something that I saw. But also it solidifies what I wrote down pre-session.
100%. And then it's just going to be allowing us to go from an okay job to an excellent job. And then at the end, for us as coaches, excellency should be always the priority number 1. Because we don't have that much time with the players. Every time that I'm watching a training session and I can see the players talking or just waiting for the coach to start the drill, it's valuable time that they are not using to improve. And doesn't matter the age group, we need to have players just in movement as much as possible because it's the only way for them to improve. We have 1 hour, 30 minutes with them on the field. Sometimes we are training for an hour. If you don't have your ideas and your concepts very clear, it's going to be very difficult to get the best from these 60 or 90 minutes that you are going to be on the field. Yeah. And that's key for me.
So for coaches who are maybe in the grassroots level, who don't have 4 or 5 sessions a week for an hour and a half, it's maybe just 2. Do you think for them, they're focusing too much on the results versus the actual development? And I think in goalkeeping, I like to call it where it's like there's a costly error and an uncostly one. A costly one is you make a mistake, they score, you lose 1-0. An uncostly one we can learn from. You make a mistake, it's still 1-0. We come back and win 3-1. No one's really talking about the mistake really anymore. So I feel like the results obviously deem whether we have more urgency with our coaching points. So maybe for the younger coaches who are in the grassroots who only get their kids twice a week, what maybe is step 1 for them to identify maybe their style of play and then going into the season identifying what they should work on every training session?
Yeah, that's a good point because I noticed that there are a lot of coaches that, of course, they don't have the opportunities that maybe we are having right now, just to train 5 days a week, having our game. But at the end for them, the priority number 1 is to have an objective. what is going to be key for them during the season to achieve certain goals as coaches. It can be like the players are improving their technique. It can be that the players are understanding two tactical concepts. And maybe the style of play is not going to be important. It's just trying to introduce some ideas on the players for them to start developing their own understanding of the game. What's the challenging here sometimes is like, okay, results are going to dictate who is a good coach or who is a bad coach. And that's the problem. For me, a good coach is a coach that is having a clear idea or a clear objective, and the players are developed in a way that they are going to be achieving that objective that you have as a coach. The challenge is sometimes we just think that the final goal is winning that tournament or winning that league. It's not really going to be providing any development to the players. And that's what needs to change a bit, no? Because winning or losing cannot be dictating every time who is good or who is bad. And I'm talking about players, I'm talking about coaches. And for that reason, in my opinion, what I will like to see a bit more probably in that age groups or with the younger players or in youth soccer is you have your ideas, you have your concepts, you know what you would like to improve on the players, and see if the players are just achieving these goals. For me, it's key that a team that is a UA team, how are they positioning on the field? You don't need to have any style of play. You just need to know how they will be positioning this year for them to understand the spaces, for them to occupy spaces. And then at the end of the season, it can be the goal that they had for the season. And they are doing it really well. And the team is looking good because it's connecting 5, 6, 7, 8 passes just because their positioning is perfect. But when we will be only thinking about results, that don't make me wrong, results are important because without winning games, it's very difficult also just to support some of the decisions that you are taking. But I'm very confident that these results will get there if you have a plan that is going to be allowing you to develop players in a way that they are going to be starting to understand the game a bit more.
Maybe you look back at the end of the season and say, okay, I was very patient with 1, 2, 3, and we actually developed really, really well.
100%.
But what I see sometimes, Enrique, is that some people will say, I want to develop 1, 2, 3, and then it's not working. They're not getting the results, right? Like you're saying, it helps you encourage the team to buy into what you're doing, but the results aren't coming. Then you and yourself, you're kind of like, should I abandon completely what I'm doing because it's not working, obviously? Has there ever been a situation for you where you were so close to just giving up on a concept and then you had a breakthrough a week or two later? And maybe advice for the coaches who are in that struggle right now.
What did happen to me in the past is like, I had a plan where I needed to introduce that plan with certain exercises or drills that were new to me and were the drills that maybe the federation was recommending me to introduce to players, and they were not working. And then for a while I was frustrated with the players, thinking that they didn't understand the concepts, the ideas. But then what you need to do is start working and thinking about your plan. What are you doing that is not working? Because if it's only one player that is not understanding the message, maybe the player is having a problem. But when there are 24 kids that are not understanding your message, maybe the one that is going to be wrong is going to be you, no? And I identified that the problem were the drills. And I needed just to simplify the drills for the players to really start understanding the concepts. Sometimes what you just need to do is to have that flexibility to change things to allow the players to understand what you would like to introduce to them. Not all the players are built the same way. Not all the levels are going to be understanding the drills or the concepts in the same way. For that reason, I'm just coming back to the start of the process. You have a plan, but you need to have the flexibility to change that plan to the challenges that you are going to be facing as a coach. If you are not having in mind making any change or adjusting things, then is when you are going to be failing.
Yeah.
And it's not that you are going to be failing. It's that 20 kids, 18 kids, 16 kids are going to be failing too. And sometimes we have the tendency of blaming the others. But as coaches, I think that the priority number one is to look at ourselves, see what we can do better. Because at the end, we are teaching, especially in these young age groups. But we are always teaching. And how our message can be understood by the players is key for us.
Yeah.
I won't be lying to you. I failed many, many times. Okay. The first time, it was probably when I moved to LAFC with the youth academy. I tried to introduce the same drills that I was introducing in Barcelona. And some of these drills were complicated for some of the players. And I was frustrated. I say, what the hell is going on? I don't understand why they are not doing the drills the way that I was expecting them to do it. And they were good players. But then I needed to design new exercises for them. Okay, with less players involved, with more neutrals, with bigger spaces, for them just to have an opportunity to really understand the exercise, the drill, and then from there, building more complicated exercises. But I went maybe from the difficult to the easiest drills, but it's the way that I had an opportunity to introduce the concepts to the players.
But what's wild though is that when you try to simplify, that's almost like an ego check, because you kind of turn that on yourself and go, okay, is it the players or no, it's me. I need to be able to coach this well enough so that they can actually understand this intricate concept, versus like you're saying, it's almost like that demotion to yourself of, I need to simplify, but for the betterment of the players.
Yeah, at the end, Omar, all the drills are providing information to the players. It depends what you want to introduce to them. You can just use some fancy exercises. At the end, if the message is clear, if the coaching points are good, all the drills are great for the players. You, as coach, you are the one that is making the exercise good or bad, not the players. Because the players, they have certain skills. You just need to adjust the drills to their abilities. A very easy example is like, if the players are not connecting 3 passes, it's maybe because the space is too small. Not because you saw that the space is supposed to be 20 by 15, you are going to keep it there.
Yeah.
And they keep failing. You just need to have that ability to adjust the drill to the space that the players will need and that specific exercise. And that's one point that coaches need to understand. We just need to facilitate the job to the players and just trying to think about what is going to be the best way for us to get the best from these exercises that they are going to be doing.
Yeah.
You need to adjust things. You need to be always thinking. If you are not doing that stuff, you are probably going to be closer to fail than closer to succeed.
It's a 1 step back, 2 steps forward type concept. Yeah, and I think you had that same situation. I know you're saying you're applying the concepts in the LAFC Academy, but when you went to South Africa, I remember, if you haven't listened to the first podcast, go ahead and listen to that as well. Gives a general idea of that situation. But I remember you said, I came in with certain concepts. Why are these coaches and players going to listen to me just because I said, these are the exercises we're going to do because I did them in Barcelona, because Xavi and Iniesta are doing these. You have to do them and it's going to work. Like, did you just say, you know what, I'm going to try and just implement it again at LAFC? Or what did you learn from South Africa?
Yeah, I think that in South Africa, the challenge that you have as coach when you are going to a different country is you need to spend some time assessing, okay, how the players are looking, how the coaches are looking to, just to see what's the level where you are going to be coaching. The mistake that I made in the first experience overseas, like was South Africa, we decided just to start to influence the project too early without having a good opportunity to assess the players or to assess the coaches, even to assess the competition that they were going to be playing, no? That was just forcing us into a situation where we were trying to implement the same ideas that we implement in Barcelona, but without knowing what was the background of these players and coaches. That was kind of a challenge because the players, they had been coached always in a very analytic way, where technique was the priority number 1, and the physical part of the game was also a priority for them. When we saw that they were struggling with some of the drills and some of the ideas that we were trying to introduce, we decided just to take a step back and to analyze a bit more what they were doing in the past there. Then, after a few weeks, we saw that the priority has been always the technique and the physical part of the game. Then we say, hey, they have a weakness in their tactical understanding of the game. We will need to introduce that area to the players because tactically they are not understanding what we want, no? Okay, that was the process. At the end, we improved them tactically, but the first way that we approached the situation was not the right one. You cannot expect coaches to really accept your ideas if they are not understanding what is the process behind that idea that you would like to introduce.
Were they resistant?
They were.
Because they... I mean, you're being put in charge of them now to apply a concept that the club is asking you to be the person to do that. You're essentially telling us to abandon everything we've known about developing players to
100%. And then you need to understand, Omar, that the influence that they had in the past were from coaches from Brazil, from Argentina, with different styles. Okay, valid too, but different styles. And in their national team, they had coaches from all over the world that they were trying to implement their own ideas. And they were picking ideas from all these coaches. And when some young coaches are just coming to the club and just trying to change what they were doing for many, many years, when they were winning trophies at the youth level, they were looking at us, no way, man, I'm not going to be changing. And that's another important piece, no? That when you are just starting a project like this one, the priority is not to convince the players, it's to convince the coaches. Because the players at the end, they're going to be doing whatever you're asking them to do because they want to play on Saturday or Sunday. But the coaches are the ones that are going to be delivering the message. And it took us a bit of time, but at the end they understood with a lot of workshops, with a lot of drills on the field with them, that was going to be a really good way for them to improve the players. And then is when we started to see the results. When I moved to the US, I think that the players were ahead in certain areas. I think that tactically here the knowledge is it's better. Okay, at least you have an idea about how players should be playing. But the challenge was like trying to link this technique and tactical concepts, just trying to find players that will have the ability to execute good technical actions consistently to apply these ones in tactical situations, no? For that reason, when I overcomplicate the tactical drills, it was kind of challenging for the players because their technique was not allowing them to execute certain actions. And I think that was something that I noticed. But on the other hand, I think that coaches were less resistant here because they were like eager to learn more tactical stuff and more ideas and options for them to improve their players.
You made a really good point earlier about why would we listen to you if we're already winning trophies? And I think that is maybe to any coach who will say, hey, Enrique, my team is winning. We're getting the results we need. At the end of the season, we're winning trophies. Why would I need to look at all of my notes from the season and say anything different? Because obviously what I'm doing is working. How do they continue to set the bar higher and higher and higher for themselves?
I know that it's tough in that situation, but my recommendation to that coach is find a way for that team to lose. And that will be my advice, yes. When we were growing as a team last season, it was after the games that we were losing. When you are winning, as a coach and as a player, you don't want to improve anything. You think that you are the best player and the best coach. When you are losing, you are just starting to find ways to improve in all these areas that were costing you that loss. And it's tough, but all the teams will need to experience that defeat more often, especially when they are young. Success is providing you certain skills and developing certain habits on players that are very important. But then as a coach, when you are really working and you are really putting effort there is when you are losing because you need to improve the group so bad. When you are winning, I'm not even going to be watching the video of the last game. We won 5-0. We did really well. We won the trophy. For the next training session, I want to bring the trophy to the field and the players will have fun. Even at the academy level for us, we need to find ways for our players to lose some games. If it's just sometimes playing against older players, if it's sometimes playing against better teams, trying to find international opposition, that's what I really think that is going to be helping these groups to continue developing and for us as coaches to humble ourselves to see that there is someone out there that is better than us.
Yeah.
That we keep winning, but tactically maybe we were not really good on that game. But that day that you are playing against a team that is better than you or equal, then tactically if you are making a mistake, you are going to get punished.
That's a good point you said earlier as well with like some of the players who are getting bad habits or getting those habits that are formed when they're winning and no one's really creating any level of adversity for them. So they don't have to have a better prep touch. They don't have to have a better early starting position because they've been able to get away with it. So it works for players and coaches.
100%. At the end, when you are not getting punished by the mistakes that you are making, you keep making that. Imagine a kid that I'm asking my kids. You need to say thank you every time that someone is just offering you something. If they are not saying thank you, they can get punished by his dad. No. But at the end, it's a habit that you need to create. But if they are not getting corrected by me, they are never going to say it. They are not going to be the kids that I would like them to be when someone is offering them something. Here is the same. If your first touch is bad and you are not getting punished, you are going to keep that bad habit of playing a bad first touch. But if that first touch is getting punished every single time as a center back, as a winger, imagine a winger that his first touch is not allowing him to really find situations 1-on-1 because at that moment that he's receiving the ball, the outside back is just winning the ball. From 20 situations where he will be creating a 1v1, he's creating only 10 per game. At the highest level, it's going to be maybe 1 per game. And that first touch was never corrected because the 10 times that he was playing a decent first touch, he was having success in 8. What about having this player playing from 20 first touches, 18 should be excellent, allowing him to face 18 1v1 situations instead of the 10 or 8 that he's facing right now?
Yeah. It's the coach being the one to identify that and say, hey, it's not happening in the games, or the games aren't really extracting this. Now I'm going to add a little bit more adversity to you by pulling you aside and say, Enrique, look, you can get away with it here, but I want you to really strive for perfection so that when you transition into the next position or the next level, it translates easier.
100%. Look, the key here is like time and space is going to be key for these players. The older you are, less time and less space. if you are not starting to correct these things or finding ways to punish players for their mistakes now that they have a lot of time, a lot of space, they are not going to be having an opportunity to succeed at the next level.
Yeah.
Okay. The quicker you can do things, the best player that you can be. Sometimes when they are young, this time and this space is massive. Mm-hmm. But at the level that we are going to be coaching right now, you know that the time and the space is not going to be as big and as long as they were used to.
Yeah. And it's funny too, because from the goalkeeping side of things, when I think a lot of us are left to our own devices, the coach says, hey, you have 40 minutes today, go do your own thing, and that's it. There is a checks and balances, right, in certain areas, but I think a lot of it has to come internally, where you say, I could come out here, and I said on a podcast before where it was like, I could come out here, not have a plan really, but then have an amazing session. And again, that's a result that it may feel like a win. And I want to feel that. And I say, you know what? I can do this every single time. I can come out here. No one's correcting me. No one's saying, hey, what was your objective here? What was this? What was that? And I feel that there are a lot of coaches who are left, again, to their own devices. They say, hey, you have this team, go coach them. And maybe they're getting the results, or maybe they don't have that fire in them, or really don't have much of a template to follow. Mm-hmm. And they say, well, we're winning, so why would I change anything? And I think also, too, it's like, I don't have to explain anything to anybody, because no one's tapping on my shoulder and saying, what was this for? What was that for? And I think that's, in my opinion, I think that's where a lot of people can get caught up and go in the wrong way. Unless there's somebody really pushing at you and saying you need to improve, it kind of goes untouched.
I think that for you and for Steven, for myself, I cannot be satisfied with a training session that just is ending with an okay result. And I think that both of you are just getting into that point that you need to be satisfied with the job that you are doing to really leave the field with that impression that, okay, I did my job today. Yeah. And I think that at the end, I may be helping both of you just to get into that level. And this is what maybe some coaches are missing, but you just need to find a way to really step on the field thinking that you are going to be having the best training session ever. Because if not, we are failing to the process that we are just trying to lead. Okay? And as a goalkeeper coach, as a team coach, you just need to have everything prepared. And I understand that there are different realities, that not all of us are having the same resources. But even when I was starting, I was spending 3 minutes just to prepare the training session. 5 minutes, 10 minutes. And that was just giving me the opportunity and the peace of mind, like say, hey, today I'm going to be having a good training session. And when you left the field and you feel that the training is not going well, I was starting to think about, wow, what I didn't do well, what I will need to improve. And that's something that I think that needs to come from the coaches. And there are different personalities and different ways to approach coaching. But for me, we need to excel. We need to be the best ones out there, because there is a lot of kids, a lot of players that are just going to be expecting the best from us. And we cannot fail them.
Yeah. That's the hard part, is when you can have the results not going your way, but you trust your plan enough to say, I'm going to stay committed to this. Have you had that? You've had that before. I'm guessing.
Yeah. We had, how many question marks we had last season?
A
lot. And we were thinking, hey, we will change this, we will change this. Of course, we were changing small pieces. But at the end, when we were just talking and going back and forth, I say, no, I'm not changing.
Yeah,
I'm going to stay with the plan. The players cannot see that we hesitate. We need to be strong enough. And if things are not going our way, we lost 4 games in a row. The only way that we have to improve them, keep analyzing the mistakes and try to get better in these areas that we are not doing well right now. And we get out of that situation, just winning two consecutive games. Yeah. But again, is the only way to do it? Pues I don't have the perfect answer, but I think that is the way that I will do it, and is the way that I think that has been working for me in the past.
I want to get into your brain a little bit, Enrique. I know we'll get to the facility when we need to get to it, but I want to provide as much value to the listeners and the viewers as just like providing a framework that maybe, again, I'm very fortunate that I've had coaches who take an interest in the goalkeeping side of things, of like, hey, you can mail it in and you can have your bad sessions, but when I come and watch, you better know what the hell you're doing. And even that little bit of like hesitation in my mind of like, crap, Enrique may come watch me today. I need to know what I'm doing. That says I need to put a plan together just in case. and then eventually it turns into a habit. Not everyone has that framework or that template or that coach, probing at them and saying that. So what do you do when you sit down with the pen and paper?
Yeah, I will divide that process in two. One is the preseason and the other one is when the season is starting. Okay. And coming back a bit of my own ideas or style of play, one thing that I did in the past is just to have like a presentation that was like almost 1,000 pages.
Wow.
Okay. But that was useless, Omar, because I had too much information that I was not even using. What I did is just after having a conversation with myself, I started to reduce and reduce and reduce. And right now I have like probably 3 offensive concepts, 2 defensive concepts, and then the transition moments. That these are the areas that I'm just trying to develop on the players. Of course, that then I have like some principles and some ideas that I want to introduce from each big concept, but it's maybe 6 or 7. Okay. In preseason, what I like to do is just to plan how many weeks we are going to have to introduce as many ideas as possible to the players. But that it depends a bit how I feel regarding the group that we are going to be getting. No? For example, this group is kind of new, but I had some of the players in the academy, and I knew that they were going to be a lot of the offensive stuff, and I'm focusing a bit more on the defensive side, especially on pressing, that we have been doing a few weeks of pressing for them to understand what we are expecting. The first 6 weeks of preseason, I always have this week's plan. And then what I'm doing during the season is just trying to go week by week. Okay, the game, especially at this level, is going to be providing us a lot of information. But if I was in the academy, I was going to be already having the plan for the season in a different way. Okay, where I will be continue to provide topics to the players for them to develop them during the week and have an opportunity to see where they are regarding these principles or regarding these concepts that I would like to introduce to them. Just coming back to this season, as soon as the season is gonna be starting, like I say, the games are gonna be a priority for us. The only challenge is that we won't have always the same players in training. Okay, and imagine that we will need to improve our pressing when we are defending the build-up, and half of the group is not gonna be with us. We will need to adjust our training sessions to the needs of the players that we are having that week.
Definitely.
Okay. But for that reason, I always say, talking about trying to be flexible. But if you have a plan and you have an idea on Monday, it's going to be helping you just to make a few adjustments. If you don't have that idea on Monday, then you are going to be having a nightmare. Because then Monday is going to be whatever. Wednesday, you are going to be doing 11v11 just because it's fun for the players. And then Friday, you will start to prepare the game. It's not going to be working. Okay. Always, I recommend to have a clear idea about what you want for that week. And from there, just make all the changes that you will need to do based on the number of players that you will have, based on the profiles that you are going to be getting, and also the needs of these specific players. Because imagine that the defenders that are going to be playing with us are with the first team, but we have all the forwards that will be with us on that specific game. Maybe I'm moving towards individual work with these forwards, just for them to have certain ideas that I would like to see on Saturday, no? Yeah. But always trying to plan the week, and from that plan, trying to be flexible and adjusting things based on the needs of the players.
It's a different objectives as you get older. And like obviously for us, the opponent who we play on the weekend will dictate a lot of what we're doing.
Yeah. And if I was with the youth, I will have always the plan ready without even thinking about what is going to be the game in the weekend. Okay. You can do something maybe one day for 10-15 minutes based on what the opponent is going to be doing. But my recommendation is just to focus in the way that you would like to play. Okay. If you want to develop possession style, let's think about that. Create weeks where we are going to be just developing our possession, our position style, the way that we are going to finish, and then provide to the players the tools for them to play the way that you want them to play as coach. Okay. For us, it's a bit different because competition is an important piece.
Sure.
But as much as competition is an important piece for the youth because they love to play, that should be an opportunity for you to see and to assess as coach if the message that you are delivering to the players is good or is not good. Because at the end, on Saturday, Sunday, you are finishing the game. If your team is connecting 20 passes, 30 passes there, that should be a success for you. And then you can assess the result, but at the same time, you need to assess the objective that you had as a coach. And then there are like 2 different results there. You can lose the game, but your team is growing. And that growth at the end is going to be bringing you the opportunity to have better results.
Yeah, it's funny. When I was younger, we played against this team and we won like 5-1, 5-2. And the passing was unbelievable. And I remember going like, the result did not define how good this team was. And I remember there were passing circles around us. And maybe in their buildup, they had one bad pass. Our team was good at countering. We scored 1, 2, 3 before we knew it, the game was over. But I remember it still left an impression on me to this day where I was saying, wow, these guys were a lot better than the score looks like.
Yeah, and that's a situation that sometimes is very difficult to value because we value only one thing. That is the result.
Yeah.
And it's happening at the professional level, but maybe for the youth team, I think that we need to be a bit different too. Okay, I'm not asking for the rules to be changed, like for a team that is connecting the passes to score a goal. But it's hard sometimes to see teams that are trying to build up and they are getting punished. But I would like to see the same teams in a year, just to see where we're one team that was taking advantage of mistakes and the other team that was trying to create their own plays. No, at the end, in the youth, you can see a lot of teams that are punishing mistakes and other teams that are creating their own mistakes. Which team is going to be better? I don't know. Okay, because a team that is having the ability to and the personality to develop a style and trying to create situations or be involved in situations where they are going to be having the pressure of being on the ball, maybe the player is going to be at the end understanding these situations a bit better when they will be getting older.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, if I'm a young coach I'm coaching 13, 14-year-olds, I come in on the Monday and my objective is this week I really want to focus on possession and see how that plays out on the weekend. So the whole week is, rondos, and then we're doing, possession in the low block, possession in the mid block, and then obviously possession in the offensive third. And now you go into the weekend and maybe you lose 1-0, 2-0, but the objective from day one was the possession. And like you said, you're valuing now those maybe 1 or 2, 3 minutes of possession of play. Your team was able to possess. Maybe the next objective is, okay, possession with a purpose. How are we going to be, working 100%. On the channel ball? How are we going to be working on, all that stuff? So that's, again, a framework and an idea for those young coaches.
Yeah, and I think that's, you explained really well. I was not expecting that from you. And the other thing is, for example, there is moments where we are just asking players to build up from the back. And they are failing for 10 consecutive actions. There is nothing wrong just to kick a long ball and then try to keep possession for that second ball that the group is going to be winning. The idea is the same, but we are going to be trying just to provide the players an opportunity to succeed in possession. Because if there are like 10 build-ups where the left back or the left center back or the right center back is making a mistake because the other players are stronger than them, faster than them, don't put them in a situation where they are going to be failing every single time. The idea is the same, but you can just let them know, hey, the first ball, we are going to be just trying to play long for us to win that ball and trying to play from there, okay? Because sometimes we are a bit stubborn too. We say build up, build up, build up. But we ask them to build up without knowing what is going to be the next phase for them. And they keep losing the ball without knowing what was happening or without having options in the next line. And then these players are just set to fail. And that's what sometimes we just need to recognize as coaches too. And I think that's the process. Is like, you want to build up, that's great. It's looking good. The parents are going to be excited just to hear that your team is going to be building up from the back. But do the players know what they need to do after building up from the back? What's next? Are you trying to create an advantage in the middle? Are you trying to create an advantage in the wide channel? Are you trying to use the goalkeeper? Who is creating the advantage for you? And you maybe wanna create, or you are thinking that they were going to be playing a long diagonal ball and they don't have the ability. No, it's not going to be working. You just need to provide an option to the players to succeed based on what you would like to see on the field. Like I say, possession, build up, great. But what are the options? Maybe you need all the players to be together at the beginning of the play instead of letting them just to be each one in their own spot. And that's key to it. It's like not only what you would like to do, what are the tools that you are providing to the players?
Yeah, I think that's where I think us as coaches from the goalkeeping side, it was like we should prepare you to see or to prepare for what you're going to see for the weekend so that you've already 1, 2, 3, 4 times in the week, you've already made that mistake. We've corrected it. And now you have that, I guess, recall in the moment when that situation is presented to you again, whether it's a 1v1, a cross, you have that to kind of go back on.
100%. I think that's key, Omar. It's something that we are always talking with. In Saturday or Sunday when we are playing the games, it's really hard for us to really influence the game the way that we would like to influence the game, okay? But if during the week we can just provide these ideas to the players, like we came back to the build-up, we have a goalkeeper that can play that long diagonal ball and maybe the outside backs are our outlet in that game. Or we decide that the 6 is going to be the outlet for that specific game. But the players will need to have a target regarding our build-up options. But what is happening if the opponent is just marking or man-marking our 6? They need to see what are going to be the other options that they will have. And that's what we will need to offer them during the week. Drills where the 6 is going to be man-marked. What is the solution now? Drills where the wingers of the other team are going to be defending the outside backs. What is the option for the goalie? He's going to be just kicking that long ball because we told them? No, provide the scenarios that they are going to be at the end deciding. Hey, option A for us is the outside back. Option B is the 6. Option C, good luck. No, option C, you just need to decide what is going to be happening. No, but that's what we will need to do as coaches. Our idea is this one. This is the way that teams can be playing against us, how we are going to be creating an advantage.
But that goes also back to when you look at how Liverpool at their best, Man City at their best, you would say the general concept for why they're so good is possession. And I think a lot of people are impressionable. Those coaches who are just taking a concept that they're seeing, somebody who, again, they always say you only see the result, the small result, but you never see all the work that goes into it. And we've seen Pep Guardiola and those guys in their training sessions, but we don't see them every day. We don't see their video sessions and how much they really expand. So I'm sure that's one of the situations you see from coaches.
100%. If you are talking Liverpool and Man City, and we can use many, many examples, at the end, they moved from Claudio Bravo to Ederson. Why they were deciding for Ederson instead of keeping Claudio Bravo? So Ederson is a player that can hit the ball almost to any spot on the field. Yeah. And that's something that we don't have as coaches. We don't have that flexibility to go out there and sign a player that is going to be $45-60 million. I hope one day we will have that chance. It will be fun.
That'd be nice, yeah.
But that's what you just need to recognize. For that reason, you cannot go to the general idea without knowing the limitations of the players that you have. And that's key. You need to know what you have to really develop the style that you want to introduce on the players. The style can be the same, but the ideas or the details needs to be different. A goalkeeper that is 12 years old, he cannot kick a good long diagonal ball. But then maybe we need to teach him how to play a good entry pass, because we are going to be playing with 2 6s instead of 1. But we just need to make their life easier for them to succeed. And that's what sometimes we don't understand. We want them to play a long ball to the outside back. He keeps failing. We want the outside back or the center back to play a good long ball to the winger. They are 11 years old. 3 times maybe he's connecting a decent ball, but the other 10 times, that ball is going to be bouncing 3 times before it's getting to the winger, and someone from the other team is going to be winning.
Yeah.
Provide that extra pass that they will need at that age. And that's what we will need to do as coaches. Yeah. Recognize the weaknesses, recognize the areas where the players can be really strong in possession, and try to help them.
You know what's interesting? I would assume, I hope that you listen to the podcast, but I don't think you do. But Thomas Schlieck, he was, at the time when I interviewed him, was the director of goalkeeping development at Dortmund. Mm-hmm. And he said, what we do is we have the coaches tell us what their session plan is going to look like. And let's say, like you do for your preseason, like the 6 weeks, you have your periodization. You have like specific topics you want to hit, so that at the end of the day, when the season comes, everything, all the terminology, all the coaching points, we already know, and it's easier to coach. He said, when I have the sessions, the goalkeeper coaches will tell me, we're going to work on crosses today. We're going to work on distribution here. We're going to work on this, and this. And then when I see it on the weekend, if the goalkeeper messed up in crossing, and then when I look back to see what the coach logged, if he didn't have as much crossing as we were expecting or that we want him to, it's on the coach. Is that too much, or is that somewhat of an idea of a framework for a coach to say, when I put my plan together, I have my objectives, but I need to be realistic. If this objective didn't work the way I wanted to, was I spending enough time?
Yeah, I think that's key. I think that the coaches from Monday to Friday, we are working for the players, and there is only once a week that the players are working for us. Mm. And I think that that's a really good way to approach it. Like, you are making a mistake in a cross. Let's analyze what was happening during that week. I spent enough time with the team to improve them in that area. We're still missing chances in front of the goal. How much finishing we did this week? 0 shots, small goals. Okay. Then at the end, the work that we were doing as coaches, it was not as effective as it should be for the players. Yeah. And like I say, for us, it's going to be like, imagine 8 hours a day, 8 hours a week on the field with them. What we are doing in these 8 hours is going to be key for us to have an opportunity in 90 minutes to get the best from them. And I'm always saying that when we will humble ourselves to understand that we are working for the players, The easiest is going to be for us to understand how the process is working.
Yeah.
These 5 days, 4 days that we are working for them are going to be having us or giving us an opportunity or not to see the best of them on Saturday or Sunday.
I know you do this as well, but Chris, who I had at Cal State LA, his mentality was you can't blink as a coach. When you ask something from the players, whether it's like disciplinary, if you're saying, hey, I'm going to discipline you because you showed up a few minutes late, and then the next time you go out there, you're showing up a few minutes late, you've lost that power of your voice. And I think, like you're saying, throughout the whole week, we're working for the players. We're trying to not showcase to them, but we're putting everything on that paper and on that field to showcase to them that when we're asking it of them on the weekend, they can't even bat an eye. They can't even question you because, yeah, I'm repeating myself from something I said to you on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And I think we as coaches can sometimes not make those coaching points because in our head we go, this is a new concept. I did not introduce this at all this week. I'm not going to say anything. And maybe that's what the player needed in that moment. But because you didn't work on it, your voice has been stripped.
And then you just need to think why you didn't work on that topic.
And that's where the process starts again. Yeah.
Yeah. To say, hey, I was spending time in areas that I didn't need it to be improved. And I missed that point that is key for that game. Then, as coaches, we need to take a seat. I remember the game against San Diego last season, that it was like a long diagonal ball that we didn't scout.
Yeah, but we won the game.
Yeah, we won the game.
Thing, yeah.
But we won the game, but we needed to adjust that situation during the game just by moving the winger. Remember that we were moving him. And we didn't practice in the whole week. And we were finding a way to succeed on Saturday. But at the end, I was not satisfied with the way that we were approaching that week because we were missing one piece that was going to be hurting us a lot. And it already hurt us because it cost us a penalty that Abraham saved it and then cost us a goal. Okay. And from 1-0 down, then we adjust and then we had an opportunity to win. But it's not always going to be happening.
Yeah.
It's not always going to be happening. And for that reason, missing one piece during the week can cause you just to lose the game.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It really is. It really is. I think from the coaching side for you, you had your Barcelona days. Then you had the time in South Africa. Then you obviously Saudi Arabia at the beginning, but it was still Barcelona concepts. And then you came to LAFC. And so for you, what has changed? I know you took a lot of Barcelona and you've said it before, Barcelona will always be a part of me. But what have you felt that you've changed the most from your ideas at Barcelona up until now?
Look, I think, I don't know if I mentioned that stuff in the last podcast, but I think that could be very difficult for me to move to clubs that they won't have an idea or a style of play similar to the one that I use to develop for Barca. I think that was one of the things that I really enjoy or I really like from LAFC is that when they were selling to me the project, they were just explaining to me the way that they want to play and was in line with what I wanted to develop, okay? I won't feel comfortable in clubs that will like to develop a style that I don't feel. And here I have that feeling that they are doing something that is in line with my style as a coach too. I will say that one of the things that I changed the most or I just needed to adjust is to understand a bit more what the coaches wanted to do with Bob at the beginning and now with Steve. For my styles, to adjust in a way that is going to be satisfying what they need. Okay. I think defensively, for example, is an area that in Barcelona we didn't develop or we didn't spend that much time. And here I needed to spend more time just because I want to defend. I want to press the way that the head coaches of the first team will like to press, no? And that's a process because I have a lot of experience, but doesn't mean that I know everything regarding coaching. And having these meetings, having their conversations, creating new drills that are going to be allowing me to introduce these exercises, learning, watching the first team playing. Okay, that's something that I needed to introduce in my curriculum just for not only my team this season, but also the academy teams in the past were playing or started to play as close as possible to what the first team wanted to see, no? It's something that I keep doing every season. We have our meetings. I take in a seat with Steve. Steve, what do you want? What do you need? There is anything that is going to be changing. And the ideas are going to be always the same, the way that we would like to play. But we need to keep evolving the style and evolving the system of play for us to have an opportunity to continue having success as a club, as a team, and as coaches. Because if I'm not letting the players do what the first team is expecting from them, they will fail as players, or they will fail to get into the first team, but I'm also going to be failing to the club. And that's something that I cannot do.
What's a really good point there, if I'm putting it all together, is when you put your plan together, you need to have as much information as possible before you can set the objective. Obviously, in this specific setting, Steve is giving you information on what he's adding to the concepts. You have your own concepts. Then you have the personnel. Then you also have to consider here with LAFC is some of our guys may be going on international duty. Some of our guys may be going with the first team. Then we might have the 17s coming and training with us. So you have all these different things. So is that how you kind of process? You have all these, put them into like a little box, and now you say, okay, how can I prepare for a scenario when this happens, when this happens, when this happens? Is that how it works?
Yeah, I think at the end, you will see that I have a lot of presentations and PowerPoints where I'm just trying to put all these ideas together. And like I say, just trying to simplify them. Because if I need to deliver a message, or Steve is delivering a message to me, and his assistant coach too, okay, I'm getting a lot of information, but then I need to deliver the information to Steven or you, or even to the academy coaches. The shortest that information is going to be, the easiest for me is going to be also to introduce these concepts to the coaches. If I have too many or too much information, no one at the end is going to be understanding what we're expecting. And that's what is driving me crazy sometimes, no? Because I'm talking for hours, and then from these hours at the end, I'm just going to be having a sentence. Or I'm just going to be having a word that I will need to use for coaches to understand what are we expecting in that specific moment. Because if I'm just trying to introduce to them these 2 hours of talking and coaching, we are going to be missing the message. And that's the hard part, no? Just trying to collect a lot of information and trying to divide that information in different areas and simplify the information to feed the coaches with the right information at the same time.
So it's your point as well of like coaching the players. You also have to find ways to coach the coaches.
Yeah. At the end, if you cannot coach the coaches well, the players are never going to be well coached. And for that reason, coming back to the South Africa times, or when I was in Barcelona, coaches were the priority number one. Because as soon as you have them understanding the process, you can forget about the job that they are going to be doing on the field because you are going to be trusting them. But if you can see teams in the academy that are not doing what we are expecting them to do, then is when we just need to revisit all these things.
Yeah.
And imagine that the second team is not pressing, is not attacking, is not building up the way that the first team is expecting us to build up. Then we are going to be the ones that we will need to figure out what's going on with us. Okay? And the same way that probably Steve is going to be just checking our team, I will need to do the same job with the academy.
Yeah.
Because if I'm going to be moving players from there and they are not doing a good job, it's going to be a struggle.
Yeah.
Because only one player doing his own thing is just going to be damaging the rest of the group.
It disrupts them.
Yeah.
And I remember we were talking to Marco Garces at the facility, and he was telling me, he says, very short, I loved it. He said, clear objective, loose instructions. And I think that's where, from the goalkeeping side, it's like we could all have our philosophy of how we want the goalkeeper to play. We have the methods of how to get them to that piece. But at the end of the day, keep the ball out of the net. Have us be in the best position to create advantages with our feet. All of those things. But at the end of the day, the objective is don't concede. Get a shutout as much as possible. But the instruction maybe can vary as much as
less is more.
Yes.
Okay. At the end, the players doesn't want to have tons of information. They just want to have the minimum information that is going to be helping them to perform well. And if they need more, they can ask.
Yeah. And then, I don't know, I'm going to keep asking because I do guys.
Yeah, keep asking.
But so if I'm a coach who's working under you in South Africa or here at LAFC, and I say, Enrique, but how can you be telling me that I need to take your concepts, but at the same time too, in my own way of developing my philosophy and all that stuff, how would you go about telling me to listen to what I'm saying, but at the same time to do a little bit of what you're doing? Is that in the exercises they find their own style, or you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think that coming back to the same question that you few minutes ago is, if they are not feeling that style of play, they are in the wrong place. They are in the wrong place. If, just to give you I'm not going to say that we are Guardiola or we are Mourinho, but if you want to develop your own style and your style is going against what we want, if you don't want to build up from the back and you want to play long, and if you don't want to press high and you want to be defending in a low block, you are in the wrong place. And that's sometimes what we will need to do when we are just trying to hire coaches. How you feel about that style of play? Because if you don't feel it, it's better for you just to leave. It's a different story when we are just talking about coaches that are already involved with their teams and they need to build up in a certain way because we are asking them to do certain things, but they will like maybe to progress more through the outside backs than through the center backs. Not a big deal, okay? Because that maybe they are point to the build up action that is gonna be helping them to feel like part of the process too, okay? And it's not a big deal because at the end we are achieving the same objective. We open the door for option A, B, and C, and they are feeling more comfortable with the option A, and they are gonna be just focusing their efforts on that situation. But from my side, I will say that's great, but don't forget about B and C because the next coach or the coach from the first team is asking the center back just to attack spaces by dribble, and you are forgetting that part. Keep doing it. And that's at the end a process, no? And the priority number one for us is to get coaches that are going to be understanding our philosophy, but that they will feel that philosophy too. If not, it's going to be very complicated.
I think at the end of the day, the scouting of coaches, the scouting of players is extremely, extremely crucial to eventually start putting in what you want to have as objectives with your philosophy. And I think that's where sometimes you can see, like I look at Atletico Madrid, their defensive prowess and how they do things, and like kind of like Godin and like their center back pairings back in the day, like how they were able to construct a team that did what the coach wanted.
Yeah, but that's credit to the coach. I don't feel that way of coaching, but credit to the coach that is feeling it and is doing it at that level.
When you see like a coach like Mourinho or Simeone like park the bus or do well defensively and have that transition defensively and the press, it has that. Is that something that you say, I like that concept? And you're saying at Barcelona, maybe when you left, that you said, I need to work on defensive stuff a little bit more. Is that now saying maybe if I give a framework to a young coach and say, oh, okay, well, I like this about this, but I'm suffering in these areas. What's a good example for me to look at? This is how they do it. Let me see if I can.
Honestly, Omar, I'm jealous when I see these situations. I remember Atletico Madrid beating Bayern Munich after conceding 27 shots and defending for 85 minutes, and they score a goal in an offensive transition. How are you getting the players involved into that or buying that style for 90 minutes when you are talking about top players? The thing or the challenge for us as coaches is I will never get as close as the level or close to the way that they are defending, just because they spend too much time. If I'm spending that time on defense, then I will forget about what I would like to do with the ball. And for that reason, I need to have that conversation with me. I want to be that style or I want to be that one. And that's what at the end, it's moving me towards that style where I would like to dominate the game, to keep possession, to take the initiative of the game. And I'm against the other style? No, but it's something that I don't feel comfortable as coach coaching.
Yeah.
Okay, I like to spend time now defending because I think that this is the way that as a team we are going to be defending. But a low block, we didn't have enough training sessions in the last season to compare or to get close to probably what Simeone is doing with his team. And again, Mourinho, when he was in Real Madrid or Chelsea, offensive transition. I would like my team to have that offensive transition. I will love if we will be that good. But maybe I don't have the players, or maybe I don't want to be working on defense or in a low block defense that much. At the end, when you are just deciding and when you are just building your own style, you just decide what you would like to do. And for example, I enjoy watching a team defending for 45 minutes protecting a result. When we had that situation against the Lights, we were panicking.
Yeah.
Because we were practicing a bit more because we knew that was going to be happening. But, man, I don't feel comfortable. My heart is going to explode, man.
Yeah, it is. Okay, Enrique, I have one more and get you out of here. Let's kind of do me a favor. Let's go ahead and bring all this now, everything we just discussed for the last hour, put it all into something that's digestible for a coach to, again, apply their own style of play, but at the same time, too, be confident that their style of play is something that they truly believe in.
Coaches, they need to have conversations with themselves to really understand what they would like to get from their coaching. Okay, that's the priority number one. Let me know what you would like or how you would like to look as a coach, and then your coaching style is going to be easier for you to be defined. The other one is, doesn't matter what coaching style are you going to be using, because all of them are valuable. The only thing that you just need to develop a plan that is going to be helping you to implement that style in the right way. We have like coaches that are going to be involved a bit more in the professional level, where I think that results are going to be a priority, plus development of players depending in which age group are they going to be. But if we're talking about the youth, I think that having a good idea about what they would like to develop is going to be key for them. And then planning is key. If you are having the ability to plan your training sessions, to plan the month that you, or the season that you are going to be working with a youth team, a professional team, without even thinking about how many training sessions are you going to be having. Doesn't matter if you are having 1 or you are having 5. Just to have a plan. It's going to be just allowing you to get closer to succeed than to fail. Okay. And I don't think that there is bad ideas out there. There are only ideas that are not well developed. And for that reason, spending time trying to create plans, training plans that will help players and coaches to do their job at their best, it's probably the priority number one. Okay. And we are always talking about the importance of results, but let's also spend some time to define which results you would like to get. If the results that at the end of the game you can see, and it's going to be just based on the goals that you score and the goals that you concede, or there are other results that you think that are going to be important for you to achieve during the season. That could be, I think that I don't know why we were spending an hour. No?
I know, but no, it's good to have you on, and I know it's those situations that I get to learn from every day, and it's important to, like you're saying, police yourself, and that starts with a conversation with yourself.
If you improve already, I think that all of them can improve too.
Oh, God. All right, appreciate it.
Thank you, my friend.
All right, thanks, guys.